Husky fans, and welcome to the first edition of the Huskies Unleashed podcast presented by Innovation Federal Credit Union, your number one place to get Husky news, updates, and interviews with your favorite athletes and coaches. My name is Elliot Gabler, and I'm joined by my co-host Darnell Wyke.
Hey Elliot, happy to be here, and yeah, I'm super excited about this podcast. It's going to be a great opportunity to kind of tell these exciting stories that we have across all our teams and across our campus, and yeah, I'm really happy to be here with you doing it.
Yeah, me too. We got some great teams this year, some potential national contenders, some conference contenders. I think it'll be a good season.
Yeah, for sure, and we've got a couple sports already underway. We're only a couple weeks in, but men's soccer, women's soccer, football, they're all getting out. And yeah, I guess we should update the fans out there about all that.
Yeah, let's update the people. We'll start off with our men's soccer team. They began their season back on August 24th. They're actually 5 games in right now. After a tough opening weekend against Calgary and Mount Royal on the road, they took on Alberta at home in their home opener. Unfortunately, weren't able to get that one done, but a couple days later, against the MacEwan Griffins, they picked up their first win of the season, 3-0. It was a really strong performance from the team, and then they followed that up with a recent win on the road against Lethbridge, defeating the Pronghorns 1-0. And it was quite the performance from goalkeeper Jerson Slapinski.
Yeah.
He was our athlete of the week this week, actually, because of his clean sheet he posted in Alberta.
Yeah, and it's great to have Jerson back with the team. He actually rejoined the team after his injury early on in the season. So he had some eligibility left and decided to pull the cleats down from the rafters, lace them back up, and get back out there. And yeah, we're super happy to have him back. I think that win, though, against MacEwan really put them on the right track, because this is a team where last year, certain bounces didn't go their way, didn't have the season that they were expecting or hoping for, and a couple tough losses to start the year, and yeah, just that win against MacEwan, really big, kind of put them back on the right track. And yeah, now here we are, and we got a good opportunity going forward.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's definitely some high hopes in that locker room, no doubt. As you mentioned last season, they won 9-4 record, but 6 of those losses were by a goal or less. So yeah, I think they're ready to take that next step, and it'll be exciting to see what they can do in the rest of the season, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Interesting stat too. I'm just kind of looking through stuff right now, but all decisive results so far, no draws. So yeah. You don't always see that in soccer. So pretty interesting. And maybe it's a bit of talks about their style of play a bit too.
For sure, yeah. And speaking of draws, our women's soccer team was also in action this past weekend. They just started their season, hosted 2 games at Griffith Stadium. The first of which on Saturday they hosted the MacEwan Griffins in a really tightly contested match. These are 2 of the top teams in the conference last year. Finished 1-2 in the Prairie Division, which this year is really important because the winner of that division, or the highest seed, in the Final Four, will get to host the championship tournament. So big game early in the season for both these teams. After giving up the first goal of the game, the Huskies responded pretty well with Cheyenne Lehman scoring a Olympico goal, which was pretty cool to see. Don't see many of those live very often. So yeah, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I think you're underselling it quite a bit there. Just saying it's pretty good. One of the greatest goals I've seen live ever, and it was. Our announcers had actually called it, which was really cool. Our broadcast team, Lee Cormish and Ryan Flaherty, actually had talked about the possibility of Olympico, but while the game was happening, before it happened. So yeah, it was really cool to see that in action. And I think throughout the game, there's just so much resilience shown by the Huskies. They had so many great opportunities. I think I could count maybe 6 or 7 really strong opportunities for scoring, and they didn't really let that dissuade them when the goals didn't happen. And yeah, so MacEwan went back up 2-1, and then it was it the 90th minute or?
It was an extra time, yeah. Jade Humfan scored a really nice goal from about 20 yards out to solidify the draw and give the Huskies a point in their season opener. It was it was a pretty exciting moment, and it was really the Huskies were due. In that game, they were, in my opinion, outplaying the Griffins. When you
that's fair to say.
Yeah, you look at the stats too, and they tell the story as well. 20 shots to 6 shot attempts is pretty lopsided, with 9 of those being on net. It was a pretty impressive performance despite the draw. You think of wins as the big thing, but against a quality team like that, I'm sure they're happy to come out with some points there.
For sure, yeah. And as you mentioned, these teams were both top of the Prairie Division last season. And yeah, I think if we look kind of at the coaches poll where they came in, I believe MacEwan's 3rd, Huskies are 6th. Don't quote me on that though. But I think it shows you that maybe the Huskies had a bit of feeling like they're the underdog kind of heading into that game, and they showed that, hey, we deserve to be in that conversation again this year, the top tier.
For sure, yeah. They're looking to repeat last season. They finished with a Canada West bronze, tying the best finish in program history. So they're definitely looking to take that next step, and great start to the season too. After that draw, they hosted the Alberta Pandas on Sunday. And it was a really dominant performance from the team. They really controlled the pace of play and possession time as well, and ended up pulling out a 2-0 win at the end of the day.
Yeah, just another stellar performance from a number of players. Just everyone's kind of finding their stride, getting involved. And Tia Lecoq's new transfer here from the Westman. She just got to our team. And she's already making an impact. She had a couple of really strong opportunities and was able to find the back of the net once as well.
For sure. Yeah, and to your point with the number of people that are really just playing really well on that roster early. They've had 4 goal scorers through 2 games, 4 different, with the 4th being Alyssa Dagnoni in that Alberta game. She scored a really nice goal. Actually, I know they don't get secondary assists in soccer, but I think that would have been worth giving one to Kaylin Roberts there. She had a great goal kick to set that breakaway goal up for Alyssa. So yeah, they've been a lot of fun to watch so far.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, now shifting gears a little bit to our 3rd team who's in action to start the season, Huskie Football. They started the year off with a pretty good exhibition game, 42-16 against Alberta. Saw some rookies and some young guys get in that I'm sure made fans pretty excited. But it's been a tough start to the regular season for them. They opened up the season with on the road against Manitoba, falling 37-24. It was just a really tough start for them. Down 22-0 by the end of the first quarter. It's just tough to pull yourself out of that hole. So weren't really ever able to just get back into that one. And then most recently, last Friday, took on the Regina Rams at Mosaic Stadium, and unfortunately also fell in that one 33-28 in the first game of the U Prairie Challenge. So and if you don't know what that is, it's an annual competition between University of Saskatchewan and Regina across multiple sports. So and there's a trophy at the end. So yeah.
Yeah, just to provide a bit more background on that. Yeah, so all of our teams, both men's and women's, whenever they compete, then whoever wins gets a point. And yeah, as you said, all tallied up at the end of the year. And I believe the Huskies are 2-0. Is that correct?
Right now the score is 2-0 for Regina, just because of that football game.
No, I'm talking all-time standings. Overall, like championships, U Prairie championships.
Oh yes, sorry, yes, they are, and winning both by a bit of a landslide in both cases. The scoring system's gone out through some changes, but first year was 8.5 to 2.5. Second one was 37-7. So it's been pretty lopsided so far. We'll see if Regina can put up more of a fight this year.
Yeah, well, Regina will certainly hope so, but. Anyways, back to football. Yeah, I think for our team here, playing 2 rivals to start off the bat and dropping those ones never sits well. But I think really it's just been kind of that slow start. off in those games, and then we've seen some really impressive play on both sides of the ball in the game. The offense has clicked at times. The connection between Amundrud and Weeb has looked really strong to start the season.
For sure.
And yeah, defense is they're doing their thing as well. They'd probably like to not let up as many points, but yeah, they got playmakers all over the field. So I think this is a big week for them.
For sure, yeah, it's a big opportunity. The Canada West football is so tightly contested. There's a lot of parity in this conference, so dropping to 0-3, that could be your season there. There's always a chance to make the playoffs, but 0-3 start would be tough. So now I think they have a great opportunity with this Calgary team that'll be coming in. Have struggled on an offense to start the season and fell to Regina in the opening week. Last week they did beat Alberta, but from I think a outlier performance from their defense. You don't see 3 pick sixes in the first half very often.
No, it's certainly not something that you would expect to be repeatable, but you're going against a unit that has a lot of confidence, and they know they're riding high off that, and then they're also playing a team that is in the Huskies that's 0-2, so that's going to give them some extra confidence as well. So yeah, I think that getting off to a good start is really important. And yeah, just touching back, you said about the parity of the league, of the Canada West Conference, I think it is really interesting, the fact that Canada West is always, I think when you look at some of the other conferences, it's a very high level of performance there. So they're consistently producing teams that have a chance to go on to the Vanier. So even though they may not be playing too well right now in comparison to the other teams, they're still a very good team overall in the country.
For sure, yeah, definitely. I would say one of the strongest conferences out of the 4, for sure, no doubt. And I think part of that too is there's only 6 teams out here, and they got all this space to recruit from, and some of those teams in the OUA and the RESQ and the AUS, their recruiting pool is just not as big. So I think that's a really big benefit to the teams here, and it makes for some really good football.
Yeah, for sure. Well, coming up next, we have an exciting treat for you. We are doing our first ever interview with starting quarterback for the Saskatchewan Huskies, Anton Amundrud. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with Anton to break down some more all about Husky football coming right up.
Hey Husky fans, Huskies Unleashed is brought to you by Innovation Federal Credit Union. Open a no-fee bank account and earn $50. Simply enter the promo code Husky50 when applying and save about $11 every month. Enjoy free and unlimited Interact e-transfer services. Discover a lifelong bank account that's still free when you're done school, and bank anywhere, anytime across Canada and internationally.
Hey everyone, we're excited today to be joined by our first ever guest, Huskies starting quarterback Anton Amundrud, who's now in his 3rd season with the Huskies. And so far, Anton, you're off to a great start this year in 2024 with nearly 600 yards and 4 touchdown passes in just 2 games. That's best for top 5 in U Sports. So yeah, how's the start of the season been, and how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, thank you. Obviously, it's not the start of the season we wanted, starting 0-2 like that, but honestly, we've learned a lot of lessons in those first 2 games that I think will carry us throughout the rest of the season. So we learned from those 2 games, and I'm excited for this next game to show we've learned.
For sure. And what are kind of the biggest takeaways that you guys have looked back on, and what kind of do you need to do better heading into homecoming this week?
Yeah, the biggest thing from the last 2 games we took away is just those slow starts. First quarter, both games for the offense, we started super slow, and that didn't help our defense out at all. So this next game, we've been focusing a lot on just being efficient on offense and have a lot of first down production just to stay on the field so we can sustain long drives and help our team out, honestly.
For sure.
Yeah, you said you mentioned the slow starts. You guys have put together some really strong quarters and halves and so far this season, but does it kind of just come down to putting it all together finally?
Yeah, for sure. I think we've shown throughout those 2 games how explosive we can be and what kind of weapons we have. It's just about bringing all those pieces together. We can't just turn it on in the second quarter, third quarter, because you got to do it for 4 quarters to win a game. So that's the biggest thing, honestly, just being able to string it all together.
Now, the one thing I did want to ask too about the first 2 games of the season so far is you've got quite the number 1 target going so far this season in Daniel Weave. How does it feel as a quarterback to just know he's out there on the field with you? And what do you make of his start to the season so far?
Yeah, no, if you saw the work that guy does in the off season, you'd understand why he's having such a good year so far. He's one of the hardest workers I know, and as the team we call him Goose. That's his nickname. He likes Top Gun. He's a weird guy, but yeah. So Goose, he's a great guy, and he's an athlete. Like, you get that guy the ball in space, and he'll make plays. Like, you can throw him a 1-yard hitch, and he takes it for 60 like last game. Like, we're leaning on him, and he's done a great job so far.
Can you just speak a bit more about that special connection that you have with Goose there, and just kind of like the relationship between the quarterback and receiver?
Yeah, for sure. No, me and him, we go back a while since he came in 2021. I was here in COVID year, and then he came the year after, and we've been really good buddies since. Back when Mason Nice was still here and everything, he'd use me as kind of a camp arm. So after practice, he'd ask me to throw him a couple more routes. So we kind of started bonding that way, and we've been hanging out, and he's a great guy, and he's a lot of fun to be around.
Awesome. Yeah, so a connection that really started on the scout team and kind of built from there, hey?
Yeah, for sure.
Is that sort of what you credit, some of your early success this season, is just the length and the development of that relationship?
Yeah, for sure. Like, guys like him, Rhett Vavra, Branson Pipko, I've known Jesse for a while, Kuntz. Just those guys I've been around with for like 3 or 4 years now. So throughout the years, we've developed as really good buddies, and off the field, and it's really shown on the field, honestly. I just know where they're going to be, and we got a good relationship, and we know if something's not going right, they can tell me, and I can tell them what they're not doing right, and it's honestly a good connection to have.
Awesome.
Yeah, now another big kind of change heading into the 2024 season is the addition of the headset directly in the quarterback's helmet. So it's something that maybe not everyone may know about, but it's a new change this year to Canada West. So can you talk a bit how the Huskies are using it and kind of what that effect has been on you so far, maybe the positives, and also kind of what you're learning to work through with it being, an ear right in your voice all the time?
For sure. Our coach has been really, really good with it so far, because they don't cut it off ever like the NFL and stuff like that, because usually a certain time on the play clock, they'll shut the communications off. But they've done a really good job of not trying to give too much information to me before the snap so it doesn't confuse me. But all they do is they'll give me the play number, and as soon as we break huddle, they just shut off communications and let me do my thing. But a funny story actually about the communication helmet is the first day we tried it in practice, I totally just wasn't even thinking about it, because Mateo, our film guy, he put it in my helmet, and then I'm in the middle of practice, we're doing warm-up, and all of a sudden I'm hearing voices in my head, and I was like, it just confused me because I wasn't used to it at all. So just a funny little story about that. But no, I love it so far. It's efficient, and it helps get the plays in quick, and it's nice getting little reminders from the coaches, so I like it.
All right, so we're entering a big week, Anton. Not only a big week for you guys in week 3 of the season, but also it's homecoming, always a big event here on the campus. And first, I just want to talk to you a little bit about last year's game. I know it was played in a record-setting crowd, in front of a record-setting crowd, over 10,000 plus people. Just tell me what that experience was like coming out on the field.
Yeah, for sure. The atmosphere was unreal. Like, every time you'd make a play, you'd hear the crowd roar, and when it got dark out, everyone shining their flashlights in the fourth quarter. Like, it was a surreal experience just looking around and seeing 10,000 supporters all around you, and it was honestly one of the more fun games I've ever played in my life, so I loved it.
And I'm sure part of that was because you guys pretty much dominated Regina last year, 40-6.
Yeah, that helps a lot when you win 40-6 for sure.
And yeah, looking ahead now into this year's matchup, again, we're projecting a sellout crowd, looking at 10,000 plus people again this year. So yeah, everyone will be out and to cheer you on, hoping to get your first win. You're facing the Calgary Dinos, who they've been playing a lot better this year than they have last season, actually. Coming off a really strong performance, specifically on the defensive end of the ball. So kind of what do you have to do to get off to that strong start this year in homecoming, and kind of get the fans involved early on?
Yeah, for sure. The biggest thing this week is just focusing on our game plan and being very strict to detail. We can't get outside of our game plan and try to do too much. The biggest thing is just, like I said, move the ball early success and just get on them early. With a home crowd like that, you got to get on top of teams early, so it kind of deflates them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a big bounce back for us, and we're looking to get our first win of the season here.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I think I could speak for all of Saskatchewan when I say we're all pretty excited for that as well. Yeah, and do you have any message out there for the fans coming to the game? You want to say anything to them?
Yeah, just be loud, bring your support, and we'll do our best to put on a show for you and get us that first win this year.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Anton.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, and hopefully you come back.
Of course. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Husky fans. The Huskies Unleashed podcast is brought to you by Innovation Federal Credit Union, now offering no essay scholarships. Need help with education costs, minus the hassle of writing that dreaded scholarship essay? Well, you're in luck. Enter for a chance to win one of 4 monthly $1,000 scholarship draws or our $10,000 scholarship draw. Just head on over to innovationcu.ca and do the application from there. We're super excited to welcome our second guest to the show, head coach of the women's soccer team, Jerson Barandia-Hamilton. Jerson, welcome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be the first guest on your podcast, and excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we're definitely excited to have you, and it's been a really great start for your team this weekend. Really solid play on both ends, but particularly offensively. What's kind of been the reason that you would say in your mind for the offensive burst to start the season, and is it sustainable moving forward?
I sure hope it's sustainable. Honestly, I think it's a lot of things. I think when we look to build our program and we look to recruit players, we recruit versatility. I think when you look at our front players and our midfielders, we have so many different ways of being able to break down teams. We can go with a lineup that has speed, that likes to get in behind if we scout teams that might want to press us and that leave more spaces in behind to expose, like a Maddie, like a Tia, like an Alyssa. But then we also have a player like Marie or Shai who are really good with the ball at their feet, that can find the right pockets of space to then connect our next line of attack, and that can take players on 1v1s. And then when you start to look at also our midfielders, you have a player like a Jade Humpha, who's a great finisher from distance, who scored a phenomenal goal against McEwen, and her deliveries on set pieces are always top level. Then you add a Caitlin Stoke, who's a really good box-to-box midfielder that likes to arrive in the box late. I think teams can't prepare for everything, so they might be able to take away 1 or 2 elements of how we attack, but we always have other options, and I think that's the biggest X factor for our program, is our versatility and also how we can play in different shapes and different have different strategies and different ways of looking at a game, where we have an identity of how we want to play the game, and we always want to possess the ball. We want to be on the front foot. We want to be aggressive when we don't have the ball, to press and create a lot of turnovers. But we can play in different elements, in different ways, and I think as our players continue to mature and become experts at living out our identity, we become so much harder to prepare for, especially on back-to-back games. When teams might be fatigued, they might have a plan for game 1, but then on day 2 they have to adapt to what we do. So I think that's going to be a big storyline of this year, is just our versatility, our depth, and then we generate a lot. As you saw from the games, I still think our last piece of the puzzle, which is putting the ball in the back of the net and being more clinical, can take so much more of a next level, which is really exciting. Frustrating at times, especially on the weekend, because I think we let McEwen off the hook. But I also think that it's something that we're going to continue to work on and continue to get better. So it's exciting what we've been able to generate, but also humbling in that we have more to work for and more to strive for. And I think the big part of it is also the work that these girls do behind the scenes. So we talk about the recruiting, the talent, and the versatility, but it's also how are we developing the talent when they come here. And a lot of the work that we do with the players, with our team, we do a lot of individual work beyond the training sessions. So we have unit work, so our back line, our midfielders, our strikers, they come in and they do extra work on certain days, especially on Tuesdays when the load might be lower because of the weekend games. So we're big on developing the individual within the collective, and I think that shows. I think it shows in terms of how our players are not the end products when they're here. When they go through their 5-year career, we're always pushing them to become a better version of themselves. And I'm a big believer in individual talent, developing the individuals so that they can contribute to the team. So as a coach, I've started to post more on social media too as an accountability for myself to share and to continue to inspire other coaches, be it youth, university, or professionals, to see what we do, to continue to develop players. But what we've also started to find is that a lot of the recruits see what we're doing and then they connect the dots. They see why we're a very attacking-minded team and how we're producing, what our outputs, and they see the process behind, and they get really excited that they start to commit to our program. And then it's kind of like a cycle, because all of a sudden now we get higher level talent with more versatility, and it allows us now, it affords us as coaches to have more systems, more versatility, and be hard to break down. So it's kind of like a continuous cycle.
Yeah, for sure. I think, it's a very good approach that you have to everything. And for me, it's like, you don't see that a lot with university teams, is that want to get everyone better. I think a lot of times you see people expecting the players to come in as a finished product. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, and you've definitely seen that too with some of your veteran players, how they've developed, and even just in the stats, big stats guy, but just looking through the stats, how they've improved season over season, you get to start to see that actually translate onto the pitch and on the stat sheet. So it must be pretty exciting as a head coach to watch that growth and development.
Totally, and it's kind of twofold. We say stats are important, but they're not the all and the all. They have to be a byproduct of our processes. But at the end of the day, as strikers, your job is to score goals. So you have to get on the score sheet. You have to get points, because yes, we can work on the arriving in the right spaces. We can work on your defensive habits. But at the end of the day, you have to end the play. You're the last line of attack. You have to be the one that puts the ball in the net or assists. So you do need to get on the stat sheet. But what we tell our players is, don't worry about that as the main target. That has to come from all the other steps that you have to deliver on to achieve that end goal.
Yeah, and as we talked so far, it's clear that all the girls on the team, they've got a pretty rigorous schedule going on, not only with training but also school and all the other things they're involved in. And an area that you've really embraced that we've kind of talked about before has been new developments in player tracking. And if you can, without revealing all of your secrets, just discuss how that helps keep the team healthy and performing at optimum levels, and then how you kind of balance that data coming in with what you're seeing with your own eyes.
Yeah, no, great question, Errol. And I think for us as an up-and-coming program that has had to break through a really traditionally strong conference and perennial with some very traditional powerhouses, is we take pride in being innovators and doing things differently. So we've started to track our players. I think now it's become a lot more common, but we've been doing this for 5 years now, where all of our players wear GPS trackers. So we see in every training session the amount of distances that they cover, their sprinting, their hard running. And so that helps us as a coaching staff be able to manage the load of training better, so that we're not getting to a point where our players are too fatigued that they can't perform on the weekends. How we can adapt to training so that they're fresh and ready to go on the weekends. But it also helps us also benchmark what do top level players for our program look like? What are our top strikers in terms of the intensity of the runs? How many hard sprints are they making? How many times are they breaking in behind the opponent's back line? Does it take to be a starter for our team? And it helps us just have more transparent, more clear messaging with our players as to what they need to do to be a starter, what they need to aspire to become a player that gets minutes on our program. And it takes away the subjectivity of, I need you to work harder. Well, what does that mean? What does working harder actually mean for our players? I think now we can have those conversations. We also have a video camera that videos all of our training sessions. So it's really important because we can also review our training sessions so that we don't wait to learn week by week, but we can actually learn day by day. And as we learn from a training session the night before, we can then review what we did well and what do we need to improve. And that also affects what do I plan for the next day of training. If I feel that I had something planned, but we actually didn't get to where we needed to the night before, then we might scrap that and review the session that we had planned the night before and clean up those aspects. So I think everything has been an evolution in terms of our processes of how do we deliver clear messages with our players in terms of what it takes to be a starter, but also how do we help you develop as an individual so that you're constantly growing, not just our starting 11 or our 18 that dress, but our entire program. And we found that that's elevated the internal competition to a whole nother level that just continues to drive just that level of maturity, that level of execution, and we're arriving to where we want to be. So yeah, exciting times for our program.
When you mentioned that it's been 5 years now since you've been doing the tracking, and that you're likely not the only program doing it in the country, have you seen some evolution of either the game or the conference as this technology starts to become a bigger part of current sports?
Yeah, great question. I think totally. I think that the game, the women's soccer game in Canada is becoming at the university level so much more professional, which is really exciting because now, in the past, when I first started, there was no professional opportunities, and there still isn't, but it's coming soon. But maybe 1 out of 30 wanted to play professional after they graduated. Now, a big part of my conversation, right, when I talk to recruits, they're looking at, I would say probably 60 to 70% have aspirations to be professionals after they graduate university. So they're looking at university programs that are actually going to help them become professional players, both in their technical abilities, but also their mindset and just how we run our program. So again, I think more and more programs are becoming a lot more professional in their day-to-day training, year-round training. Although our competitive season is 3 months, every program that wants to be successful is a 12-month program, off-season, winter, summer. So I've definitely seen a big growth. I still think there's tierings. I think there's 53 youth sport women's soccer programs. I would say any top 20 program, top 15, we were just ranked 15, and I feel we're definitely a top 10, so we still have to keep building. But I would confidently say probably any top 20 program in Canada at the university level, women's soccer, is very professional in their processes and their recruiting, GPS data, video analysis, which is exciting. It makes the game better. It makes the game more competitive, which makes every other game that much more tense. Like our game against McEwen and Alberta, and those are games we want to be coaching in, and those are games our players want to be playing in. So definitely, I would say I've definitely noticed a lot of growth there.
Yeah, and then I'm sure we could talk about this with you forever, so we'll definitely have to have you on again. But just switching gears a bit now to this upcoming weekend. So your first game is coming up against Winnipeg. They've had a rough start to their season so far, giving up 18 goals, just 2 games, and second game's against the 0-2 Bisons. What's the message that you've been telling your team to make sure that you don't take the opponents lightly?
Yeah, very important week for us. To give them credit, although it might not seem like it, Winnipeg has a new coach, and he's a really good coach. So I told our team I wouldn't be surprised if they get better week by week with a new coach and new stuff. It takes a little bit of time, so I think they'll definitely get better. And Manitoba apparently has been a difficult team. Maybe they didn't show it this week 1, but they're always well organized, they're very physical, and they have an identity that they stick to. So to be honest, it's always about us. I told the team it's not about this weekend, it's about us growing and taking the lessons from this past weekend and being better, being more clinical with our finishing, being a bit tighter in the box to not concede some of the goals that we did, because we did such a great job of not allowing a lot of opportunities, but we still allowed a few to be in the back of the net, right? If we want to be that next level team, those goals have to be half chances that our defenders or goalkeepers save. So it's about thinking about big picture while staying focused on the present. So big picture is every week we have to get better. We have to be a better version this week compared to what we were this past weekend, regardless of who we're playing. But we also have to understand that we have to be where we are, be where your feet are, and we have a lot of work to do. And the type of game that we might play against Winnipeg and Manitoba, I think is going to be a very different strategy that they're going to apply against us. So we need to be ready to adapt, and we need to be ready to find different solutions than maybe what McEwen and Alberta forced us to find. So I told the girls, it's always about us living up to our standard, regardless of who we play. But the one thing I told them is, in this conference, in this league, you cannot underestimate anyone. It's by far the most competitive conference in Canada. And if you don't show up with the bare minimum, you'll get exposed. So it's a big emphasis of us. It's the mindset going into these games and not being too relaxed and understanding that it's a process.
For sure, and yeah, I think that's definitely the right approach to take. That being said, it's probably going to be a pretty exciting game for Teela Cox, new Husky this year. She scored her first goal as a Husky last weekend, and she's played really well so far. A former Winnipeg Westman. So I know you talked a lot about how you can kind of pick your spots with different players and putting them in position. Are there any plans to get Tia involved in that opening game on Saturday?
Yeah, I think Tia has been such a awesome addition to our team, her maturity. But the thing I thought this weekend, she stood out to us as coaches with her work rate. Like, not only was she attacking and being influential in what we did, but her work rate defensively to anticipate, to create turnovers. There was one play against McEwen where she made a 65-yard sprint to recover as a defender, being one of the first players up the field. So I think she's showing what it takes to be a starter on our program, to be a player that comes in from a new environment and have to earn her minutes. So yeah, I think she's definitely going to be an important player, not just this weekend, but our entire year. And it's elevating the competition. Like, we have 5 players. We have a player that's so close, potentially even cleared from coming back from an ACL with Malia, which we're really excited. So it's tough. It's tough to pick who's going to start and who's going to come in as a sub and make a difference. But it's a good problem to have. So we anticipate Tia playing a big factor this weekend. But I also anticipate Maddie. I also anticipate Nalia, Alyssa, Cheyenne, Marie, Kieran. Like, it's amazing to have this depth and these opportunities, because at times some players are going to be more motivated and they're going to be on their day and they're going to be executing, and at times some aren't. But if we have the depth to play a player and not, it just allows us to always be on the front foot, which, again, this is what top teams do. So I think we'll see Tia a lot this weekend.
Sounds good.
Get that the inside scouting report on the program over there. But to your point, I think we've even through the first 2 games of the season, I think it's really evident, that depth and that versatility, because, you know, even on just on the score sheet, you have 4 different goal scorers, which I don't think, when you look at some of the leaderboards in Canada West, you see a lot of similar players on the same team scoring, and they're pretty high up there, especially with, you know, we were just looking at the standings and the Calgarys and the UBCs. You see one player kind of standing out, but I think it's been really cool to watch so far this season just how many players get involved on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and I think it's part of our DNA, to be honest, Elliot and Darnell. I think we've understood that our X factor is not going to be relying on 1 or 2 players. I generally don't believe that you can have sustained success by just relying on 1 or 2 players. Most definitely not on soccer, because there's 11 players. Maybe in other sports, 1 or 2 players can make a big difference with limited rosters or sizes. For soccer, yes, you can have a goal scorer, but you become predictable and you become very easy to prepare for when you play against different opponents. So what I love about our program and our X factor is we don't have superstars. Our collective is our superstar, and we generally believe in that. And you saw it. The lineup that started on Saturday wasn't the same that started on Sunday. Yet the collective performance was really good. And we trust that if it's your opportunity to start, that you're going to perform. Now, you need to get to a point where you're performing in training to get those opportunities. But I think, yeah, we have 30 players on our roster, and currently we have 24 players, 25, 6 players that are in contention week by week. And the other 4 is because of injuries or knocks or coming back. So just to select 18 to dress is becoming really difficult, let alone to select 11 players. But it allows us as a coaching staff to have a lot of different approaches. So sometimes we get it wrong as coaches. We feel that a team might do something and all of a sudden they show up and they do something different. So if we have the ability to fix our game plan or change our game plan within the game and have the players on the bench to do that, it gives us so many more opportunities. So yeah, I think you'll continue to see that over the year, that teams can't just focus on one player because we have so many different players that can step up. And I think that's a byproduct of how we've recruited, and also credit to the personalities that we have. I think it's not easy to have players that are always performing and sometimes not start. Like, it's really easy for us to say, hey, Shai, you played a really good game against McEwen, but now you're not going to start. Because of the game, how we feel, where you can make a difference. And credit to her, she's like, it's okay. My role is to come in the second half and make an impact. And now, day and age, with a lot of players that we're recruiting that are superstars on their club teams, for them to have the humbleness to come into this program and understand that their role is beyond being a starter or not starter, I think it's not easy to do. I think it takes a lot of openness to accept that, but also a lot of trust and belief in the big picture vision, which is the team becomes successful, not the individuals. A lot harder to do than to say.
That's a great point that you make there, Jerson. I think some of the best teams that I've ever been on, we've had that next person up mentality, and it really makes like a big difference in that. But I think like the culture really starts from the top down, and it's getting that belief and buy-in. Because yeah, like you said, for an athlete, the hardest thing to do is know that you're capable of performing, know that you're good and you're able to contribute, but you have to wait for your time. So yeah, I think that speaks highly to the program you're putting together. But yeah, as we're running a bit short on time here, just wanted to transition to this weekend here with the mental health awareness game. Elliot, did you had some stuff on that, right?
Yeah, you obviously a big weekend not only next week too, and some important matches, but it's homecoming weekend. Should have a lot. You're hoping for some big crowds this weekend, and not only that, and then on Sunday, like Darnell mentioned, it's your mental health awareness game. Just talk to us about why that's an important issue to the team and what you guys do on game day to surrounding that.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And yeah, this is going to be our 3rd annual mental health awareness game. Honestly, it started, obviously, I think we've all been impacted with mental health, especially after COVID and having a season that was canceled, and just a lot of different adversity moments that a lot of our older players, maybe 5th years, 4th years, have had to go through. And we felt there was an important time when we started in 2021 to bring awareness and to continue to just, especially as student athletes, you go through the ups and downs, and as coaches as well, of seasons, of adversity, injuries, student academic loads, midterms, finals. So we wanted to just do our part as a program to be more than just a soccer team. We take a lot of pride in what we do in our community, be it through the Bowl-a-thon initiative and mental health awareness, Play for a Cure games as well. And so we felt that this is a cool opportunity because not a lot of programs were doing it, to be unique in terms of bringing awareness. So we'll have a memorable jersey for those that unfortunately have passed away from suicide. So we like to remember them with a jersey, which we'll have on our bench. A bouquet of flowers for the captains of both our team and the opponents to, again, just bring the awareness. We have a tent that has resources to speak about just mental health awareness, resources that students or anyone in the public can access. We'll have a helium balloon station for people to write messages that at the end of the game we'll release into the air. We'll have some chalk where people can write some encouraging messages on the asphalt, and it's just a nice way to bring our community together. and to continue to be more than just a soccer program.
Awesome, yeah, really great stuff. And yeah, I think it's important to remember that like mental health awareness is something, although we celebrate it at this game, it's something that is important to be mindful of all throughout the year. And the women's soccer team is also involved in a pretty cool program called the Goal-a-thon Initiative. There's a video up there over on their Instagram account, so I invite everyone out there to go check that out. They do a lot of giving back to the community, so that's another way they can kind of help support everything. But yeah, thank you so much for your time today, Jerson, and hopefully we'll have you back on soon.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation, guys. I can't wait to check out this episode and the remaining episodes and learn everything about all the amazing programs that we have here in Sask. And kudos to you guys for venturing into this initiative. I think it'll be highly successful, and best of luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jerson.
Thank you. Amazing.
All right, welcome back, everyone. And now this is, I think, probably going to be one of our favorite segments. It's called Around the West. So we're just going to take you through the standings and some stats from around the Canada West Conference for all the different sports going on right now.
We'll start with men's soccer here. They've been going for a few weeks now. So in the Pacific Conference, UBC and Victoria are at the top of that division. We got UBC at 3 wins, 1 tie, and Victoria at 4 wins, 2 ties. So pretty strong starts to the season for both of them, as well as Fraser Valley. They're 3-1-2, and then UBC comes in 4th at 2-2-2. On the other side, Prairie Division, Alberta's leading that one, 3-0-1, followed by Calgary with 2 wins, 1 loss, 2 ties. Mount Royal 1-0-4, and then the Huskies fall just behind at 2-3.
Yeah, and I think that's reflected on the leaderboards here for statistics as well. So we have Victoria's Matthew Pierce, who's leading the way in terms of goal scoring. He's already got 5. And from UFV, Mateo Brezinha, I believe I'm saying that correctly. He's already got 8 points on the season. So yeah, really impressive. And then of course our own Ethan Cabral here at Saskatchewan, he's got 3 goals of his own. So those are kind of your highlight standout performers across the first couple of weeks of men's soccer.
Very cool. Yeah, it's exciting. Ethan establishing himself as one of those premier players in the conference. 3 goals, 18 shots through 5 games. So looking forward to seeing him continue the season. We'll shift to women's soccer here. In the Pacific Division, we have Trinity Western on top, followed by UBC, both of them 2-0. And then we got UBCO and UVic at 2-1. Remaining teams in the conference have a losing record. So those 4 teams look like the solid ones at the top. We'll see how that shakes up as the season continues. On the other side, our very own conference, the Prairie Division. Right now, Calgary and Lethbridge are leading, both at 2-0, followed by McEwen and the Huskies at 1-0-1. So tight one there through the first weekend. We'll probably get a better picture of the division this weekend with another couple matches coming up.
Yeah, for sure. And I think right now, looking at the goal scoring, it's we've got a couple leaders here at 4 goals apiece. So we have Grace Moore out of Calgary, who's having a good start to her season, as well as Bailey Dirksen over at UBC, and then in Lethbridge, Haley Slobodian. She's also got 4 goals. And one thing is jumping out to me right now, a lot of Dinos on the scoreboard. They scored a lot of goals in their first couple of games. I think it was something like 18 or something like that. It was a very high number. So yeah, it makes sense why we see so many of them on here. So. But as you said, I'm sure it'll change in the next couple of weeks or so. Yeah,
well, and I think it's exciting for the Huskies coming into this weekend, because you look at who Calgary played. They played Winnipeg and Manitoba, and that's who the Huskies play this weekend. They put up 10-0 and 8-2. So I'm sure the Huskies are getting excited for those two games because they should translate similarly, I think.
Definitely.
All right, and now we shift things over to football. Looking at the conference standings, we got Manitoba and Regina at the top, both undefeated through 2 weeks, 2-0. Next up, we got Alberta and Calgary tied at 1-1. And then finally, the Huskies and UBC sit at 0-2 so far to start the season. So some interesting results there through 2 weeks this season, and I think some unexpected teams in the placement of the standings.
Yeah, I think Canada West always a super competitive division, and we're seeing that again this year. There's, I think, maybe not too much separating a lot of the teams right now, and that's kind of where we see the flip. But yeah, very interesting to see UBC and Saskatchewan near the bottom when they're both playoff teams last year. UBC won the Hardy Cup, and yeah, then we'll look at some of the stats. It is again showing that there's a lot of solid performers so far for a number of teams. Anton Amundrud, our own Husky starting quarterback, leading the league right now, yards per game. That's Jackson Tuchinski of the Manitoba Bisons. He's got 4 passing touchdowns. Amundrud also has that as well. On the rushing side of the ball, Peterson from Alberta Golden Bears, very impressive, 117 yards a game. Stubbs out of Manitoba, he's over 100 as well, punched it in 3 times. Daniel Weeb, this is a nice number, 152 yards a game. Well, hopefully for the Huskies, he could keep that going. He's also leading the way for 3 touchdowns. Webb out of UBC, he's also over 100, as well as Thomas from Alberta. Defensive side of the ball, looking at right now, I just got in front of me sacks. Tatterin out of Alberta leading the way with 3 apiece. So yeah, it's a lot of different names up there on the board.
Yeah, and to your point, it's definitely interesting so far this season how things have gone through 2 weeks. You know, we got last year's Hardy Cup matchup, Alberta and UBC, a rematch in week 1, and Alberta kind of ran away with that one, and then they come back next week and they throw 3 pick sixes against Calgary and dropped 1-1. So and then UBC, you know, the Vanier Cup appearance last year, and then now they're sitting in the bottom of the standings and with one of the more lopsided point differentials as well in the league. So it'll be interesting to see how they rebound, and hopefully we see the Huskies climb up there as well.
Yeah, it's always an exciting week in Canada West football, and yeah, I'm sure we'll have much more to talk about next podcast. So
yeah, for sure.
All right, we finally made it here to our final segment of the day, Husky Happenings, where we tell you all about what's happening with the Huskies.
Yeah, it's a big, exciting weekend coming up here. We got the premier event of the weekend, Homecoming, presented by Original 16. The Dinos are in town, should be a great game, and hoping to sell out again after there was 10,000 plus last year. So if you haven't got your tickets, make sure you get them now. There's also a ton of stuff going around outside of the game. We got Co-op Rally Alley starting at 5, running right up till kickoff. Barbecue, live music, games, face painting, the works. So don't miss that as well. We'll also be doing some giveaways. The first 750 people in a Rally Alley will get some free Original 16 samplers. So never a bad thing. Free is your friend. And then the first 2,000 people into the stadium are going to get a complimentary bandana, Huskies and Original 16. So get there early, and it should be a fun night.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet, those bandanas, and yeah, just a friendly reminder to everyone to plan a safe ride home. And yeah, that way you can enjoy yourself to the fullest during homecoming and all the festivities of Rally Alley.
For sure, yeah, and it's not the only thing we got going on this weekend. At home as well, as part of the homecoming weekend, our women's soccer team's also at home Saturday and Sunday. Both games taking place at Griffiths as well, 2 p.m. They'll be taking on Winnipeg on Saturday, followed by Manitoba on Sunday. So don't miss those games as well. So it should be a fun weekend.
Yeah, Elliot, it should be a great time, and yeah, hope to see all of you out there. We want to see the stands full and packed this weekend. For Elliot Gabler, I'm Darnell Wyke, and this has been episode 1 of the Huskies Unleashed podcast. See you in 2 weeks.